Hi guys, here we go again with our third episode. We're on the river, so you might hear birds every now and then, but it's really nice out there.
Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. The question today, or the topic today, is coming out. How did you discover that you were different? That you were gay? And yeah, all other questions about that major topic. We were preparing for this conversation, and I discovered that it's actually it's a hard topic. It could involve emotions and even bad memories. So I wrote down a few questions just to keep this conversation a little bit more structured. Okay, so the first question is Douglas, my husband. When do you first remember feeling different?
Well, I remember when I was very young. I guess I just didn't get along with the other kids in my school. I went to a private school. I went to a private Christian academy. And then I went to a public school. So I transitioned from private school to public school. And I remember on one of my grades, like one of my reports, the teachers wrote, he's having issues getting along with the other kids. And that he needs to spend quality time with dad at home. And I remember, I remember a lot of things. I remember even when I transitioned from private school to public school, being bullied, and because I didn't have the same outfits as everybody else, and I wasn't, didn't have the clothes as everybody.
How were your clothes different?
What
did you wear?
I guess the early 2000s, in the South specifically of America, the style was very reminiscent of the popular culture of rap culture, with that whole chain hang low, the sagging pants, and the sagging pants and the Air Force Ones. And I just remember I couldn't afford those things. I couldn't afford. Plus, my parents and my grandmother forbade me from wearing sagging pants and those big kind of t-shirts that were at the time. And I remember I was coming from a private school, so I was wearing white shirts, and I was very kind of preppy.
How old were you at that time?
This was probably between 5, 6, 7, 8. Between 5 to 8.
Okay. I'm gonna try to answer the question as well. I think it started in kindergarten, so a little bit earlier. So not at school. I must have been about five-ish. I remember that there was a corner in the room which we discovered, kids, and we hid in this corner because the curtains went into that corner. But we didn't notice, or we were not aware of the fact that people could see our feet, but they couldn't see our upper body. And in that corner we had some weird games, like we were showing each other our private parts. You know, we were like 5. You know, we were just, you know, discovering that but girls and boys. It was not like exclusively boys and girls, and we were just, you know, looking at our private parts, that there are differences. They don't look all the same.
Yeah.
And, you know, a vagina looks different than a penis, and that sort of thing. So even at that time, even though I don't have any thoughts from that time or feelings, but I have these images in my head, and we were discovered, and then I have this memory that we were doing something wrong. Like, you know, it was suggested that we were doing something that we were not supposed to be doing, or, you know, it was not okay. It was not accepted. And then later on, at school, I had feelings for guys.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was 6 or 7, like there were guys that I played with, I loved to play with, and there were less girls. So even though it was still a little bit like mixed, but it was not 50-50. It was more like I had more interest in guys than girls. And then when I was at high school, I was about 14-15 years old. That's when it became really clear that I was different, because I fell in love with someone, a classmate, a guy. And that was the first time when I realized, actually, this is love. Like this I could identify that feeling with love, because before that I had feelings, but I didn't know what to call them.
Yeah.
I just had feelings, such as I love spending time with that person, but I didn't know what to call it. And then when I was about 15, you know, I suddenly fell in love, and that was the first time, and I felt, okay, this is what, you know, love might be about. That's what adults call love.
Right.
And then then I got really scared. I got really scared because I felt like, oh my god, that's weird. That's not what others are. That's weird.
Yeah.
And, you know, I also started reading about it. I loved reading, even at that time. And I thought, well, okay, then let's find out what it means, actually. And what does it mean to be homosexual, to be, you know, in love with other guys? And what are the consequences that I might have to suffer? And I read that even though in Hungary at that time it was no longer illegal, so you couldn't go to jail just because you were gay or you had a gay relationship or whatever, but in a neighboring country, in Romania, it was still a crime. And I got really, really, really scared. But even in this book that I was reading, it was like a really old book, must have been written in the 60s. Even though the book said it's not illegal anymore, but it's not, you know, it's not good, and it's a deviation. It's not the normal sexuality, and you might need, you know, treatment from a psychologist or. So I just got really, really scared, and that leads to the second question, like because coming out has different phases. First, you just discover something in you that you are different, and then you decide to share it with someone at some point. So, what did it make you feel that you were different from the others?
I think at the first inkling of that, I was ashamed.
Okay.
Because I wanted to, like, I remember in middle school, I think in middle school, that's when I was starting to have complicated feelings about myself. And because in middle school, I was getting questioned. I think I had a girlfriend at that time. And yeah, I had a girlfriend at the time, and I don't think I was fully in love with her, as far as like I think we were just playing.
Yeah.
And I think at that time I was upset with myself, and I had rage towards myself because I had feelings of ambiguity regarding my own, feelings towards her. And even though that was what was supposed to be considered masculine at the time, it was that to be cool was to have a girlfriend,
Okay. I remember that I got really scared that this could be something illegal, this could be something that could make me an outcast from society, and because I became conscious of that, I was also in love with a girl, and I made it a priority that something evolves out of it, a relationship. So I told her that I loved her and I wanted to, date her and go out with her. But she refused me, and it broke my heart, not necessarily because I was so much involved emotionally, but because I realized that, okay, this no makes me a homosexual.
Yeah.
So because I thought at that time it would have offered me a way out.
Yeah.
Like it could have offered me the opportunity to become normal.
Yeah.
But she said no. I think she was not ready, or maybe or maybe I was too fast and too direct, like she might have felt some edge in it, like some urgency, and that just it could have felt weird to her. Maybe that was the reason or maybe simply she just didn't like me. I mean, that could be just as possible. But I feel that it could be also possible that she felt that something was weird.
Yeah.
Something was weird about this confession that I made to her. And then, so I got really scared, and I talked to my dad. At that point, my parents got divorced. I was 15, and I stayed with my dad. So did my sister. So that was our smaller family. And I wanted to talk to my dad, and I said, "Well, Dad, this is what I discovered." And he reacted really positively. Like, he reacted that when he was at my age, he had similar feelings as well, and it doesn't have to stay that way. It might change. But he also said a very important sentence that helped me a lot. He said that, and no matter what, you're my son, and I love you anyway, whether you end up, being homosexual or not, whatever it turns out to be. You're still my son and I love you. But I said I was not okay with myself. I told him, please take me to a psychologist. I want to change. I don't want to be a homosexual. Please take me to a doctor and help me to change, because there's gotta be a way to change, and I want to change.
Yeah.
And so he took me to a psychiatrist, but she was not only a doctor, she was also a psychotherapist. And then I started seeing her regularly, and she said, well, there are some methods to change you, but she is not really favor of those. There were some experiments in the 50s, 60s that they treated gay men with electric shocks, like they were showing masculine images to them, and then they got like an electric shock and it was painful, and that way they were like trying to take these positive associations away from masculinity. But the problem with that method is that they can traumatize you forever. Like, you can never look at a man with a positive feelings, but they cannot give you a positive feelings about women. So
Right.
like, they can't give you another passion, another way of love. They can just mess up with the natural feelings that you already have, but they cannot offer you anything more than that, and you might end up with this trauma and with this traumatized relationship with men. So she said she doesn't want to do that. What I could try is to try to think of women when I'm masturbating. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
surprised me, but I also appreciated the fact that she was so open about it.
Yeah.
Like, she could name it. And the word for me was so new that I remember that I said the word for a few months falsely, because I always said like masturbating instead of masturbating. I just switched up some of the consonants, and and she corrected me. But you know, she was really nice. She was, you know, she was trying not to hurt my feelings, so she corrected me in a very gentle way.
Yeah.
And I actually tried that. I tried that
Yeah.
because I wanted to change so badly. And I tried to think of women while I was masturbating, and it worked. It worked, but it was not nearly as much fun
Yeah.
as thinking about men,
Yeah. Yeah.
to tell you the truth. So I did that therapy for maybe 3-4 months. I don't remember exactly anymore. I was 15. She said that she would rather work on accepting this rather than wanting to change it. And then, because I was in love with this guy, and I realized that it was totally hopeless. Like, he was not gay, and he was not in a position to return it. And I actually committed suicide when I was 15. I took a lot of pills, and I wanted to fall asleep forever, because I just felt like I don't want to do this life. I don't want to become homosexual. I don't want to have that life.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a letter to my dad, and he found me in the morning. I lost consciousness at that point, and they took me to the hospital, and I woke up a week later. and it was a crashing feeling, and well, we don't need to go into details, but I give you the word now. It's like, how did you come out? Who was the first person that you told this, and what was the reaction?
Ooh. It's hard. At that time, I think I came out multiple times. And it was not received well. I mean, if we're being honest, it was not received well.
Okay.
And it was not. I just remember
Where were you?
Well-
And who was this person? You don't have to call the name of this person, just generally. Like, was it a friend? Was it a family member?
yeah, family member.
Okay.
Was it received well at that time?
Uh-huh.
And I just remember how abandoned I felt in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you come from a religious family. Did religion play a role? Or, yeah, first the religion. Like, did that play a role in this?
Yes, I think so. I think so. Yeah, it did. Because the Baptist church can be very harsh towards gays. So it was very much the narrative of, oh, you're going to hell. Yeah, which was a bit tough for me at that time, to be honest. I mean, things have since changed. I don't want to bash anybody, but that is my truth. That is the reality. It was hard to come out. You know, I remember drawing things and, you know, the things that I wore sometimes were issues. So it was a lot.
Okay. And what about race? Like, is the black culture different in that respect? Like,
I think so. I think that the black culture, blackness, specifically black masculinity, has a reputation of being averse to those to queerness, to black queerness. I think there's a complicated relationship there that has since improved, but we are I see that there was a specific has been an issue with that as far as black masculinity and queerness. Those two areas don't necessarily always mix.
okay. It's interesting because you know I'm white, and my family was not religious, but still I had this strong desire, even later on, to be normal. Like, not I didn't want to be different at all. I don't know why, but I wanted to be normal. I wanted to I wanted to belong to the majority of the society. I did not want to be marginalized. I did not want to be a minority. I wanted to be normal,
Yeah.
and so my first attempt failed. After my suicidal attempt, I went back to school, and I sat down with my father again, but then basically I went back to the psychiatrist as well, but I just felt like I don't want to do this therapy anymore, because I had a feeling it didn't help me.
Mm-hmm.
It actually I well, it didn't lead to a suicide attempt, but I'm at that point I had the expectation that this therapy should have prevented this, and it didn't. So therefore, the therapy was not, yeah,
It didn't work.
didn't work. So I didn't want to do that anymore. Of course, now I think differently, because I had lots of issues at that time, and I didn't give it a lot of time, because after a few months I just decided that I just didn't want to live. So basically it was a decision on my side, and it wasn't the failure of the therapy. It was more like my decision
Yeah.
just to end it all, and not do anything about it. So and then and I think I found refuge in art.
Same.
Okay, so I decided that I wanted to become an actor, and I took it very seriously. In high school, I was preparing for the admission test, and it was really competitive at that time in Hungary, and really difficult. Like 1,000 people would apply, and only 20 were admitted. So it was a very competitive test, and I used all the time. I took voice lessons, dance lessons, I memorized poems, I read plays, theater plays. I really took it seriously, this preparation, and to become an artist.
Mm.
And
you
that
made
was
you made some traction with that. You have films.
well, yeah, I got admitted, so that was successful, and I went to this University of Film and Theater, and but then again, my homosexuality became a serious problem, and it led to a second major crisis, because I felt that I had this question, like, how much I can be honest on stage, how much I can honestly show my emotions on stage as a homosexual actor, because I felt that in Hungary there were no actors who were openly gay, there were no directors who were openly gay, there were no theater directors who were openly gay, and it seemed like it was a big taboo. You cannot say publicly that you are gay, and there was this big fear that you're not gonna get roles if you come out as a gay actor, because the audience, it was a personal fear, like the audience would not accept me in a male role any longer, because they would know that I'm gay, so they would not believe what they see on stage, and
Right.
it was horrible, and I had fear that if the directors find that out, then they might not cast into a role, because so it was a mess. Like
Yeah.
art and being an actor was a refuge from being gay, but also it turned out to be another source of fear. Like, how can I make a career out of this,
Right.
being gay? And what if they find out, my classmates in the acting class, or and I already heard behind my back that some people were gossiping, and it was just horrible. And I had fear that they would kick me out of that class.
Yeah.
As it turned out later, it was never even a thought that they
Right.
would kick me out. And I fell in love again with a guy who at that time was heterosexual, and my love was not returned. And it came again to a crisis point where I felt, okay, I don't want to do this any longer. I don't want to be part of this world. I don't want to be homosexual. I don't. So that was my second suicidal attempt. I jumped from a window. I broke my spine. I broke my pelvis, my heel. And after that, it took a long time to heal. And actually, I had to spend 6 months at home. I couldn't go back directly to the school, so I had to start in a new class after that. And then at that time, my father insisted that I should see a psychiatrist. Yeah, of course, he was worried that he would lose me, and so I can totally understand that. So it was a really scary moment for me, but he told me something that was really helpful. And it's actually amazing how positive he reacted to me all the way through this. He said to me that, son, in life there are positive and negative things. Try to focus on the positive things. Try to focus on the things that you can have fun with, that you love doing, that you enjoy doing. Focus on those things.
Yeah.
And it helped me a lot. And then I also said to myself, okay, now I'm gonna start a new life, and I'm not going to do this bullshit any longer. I'm not trying to kill myself. That's it. I don't want to cause so much pain to my family. I don't want to, make my father sad, make my sister sad. I'm just gonna quit doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna face life, and I'm gonna find a way to be okay with my homosexuality. But that's when the decision came, okay, from this point on, I'm gonna be openly homosexual. I'm not gonna be a closeted homosexual. I'm not gonna be lying about it. I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna pretend. No, that's it. I'm not gonna do this. I was 19 at that point. I said, in order for me to continue living, I need to be honest. I cannot lie. I cannot lie about my relationships. I cannot lie about my feelings, about my lifestyle. It has to be out in the public. I don't mean that I have to put it on my forehead, that I have to be, advertising it all the time. But I cannot lie about it, because that's not life, and that's not the life that I can live.
Yeah.
So how did you feel? Like how did it develop in your life later on with homosexuality?
I feel that, I think we think that it's something that I'm arriving to. It's something that I'm continually arriving to, and I would say that my subconscious mind has battled with this, because it's been such a touchy subject within my becoming. But I think throughout when I got to college, that's when things changed. When I went to New York, I, sought refuge through fashion, sought refuge through my career, my friendships, and then it took me kind of falling and really, I really honestly think it took me coming here, even after we got married, coming here to Germany for me to be able to look at myself and be completely accepted. It's something that I'm still battling with, my queerness, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, obviously, I'm grateful for my friends, but it's I think there were deep wounds of identity and shame that I had to overcome, and I'm still overcoming. But I do know that truth can set me free,
Does coming out ever end? Do you have to keep doing that throughout your life?
I think so. I had a moment because I'm taking a German class. I had a moment the other day where the teacher, was doing introductions in German and said, bist du
Verheiratet.
verheiratet? And that's
Are
the
you
German
married?
word for
Yeah.
married. Are you married? And so the new teacher, he came into the class and asked everybody, bist du verheiratet? Hast du eine Frau? And that means, do you have a woman in German? And I said, ich habe keine
You're
Frau.
getting good. You're getting good, honey. You're learning. You're learning.
Thank you. Vielen Dank. Ich habe keine Frau, aber ich habe einen Mann.
Uh-huh.
And I remember the feeling of saying ich habe keine Frau
Uh-huh.
there was still some
Nervousness?
there. There was
Okay.
nervousness there because people in my class from all around the world, in my integrations course in Germany, there are people from Africa, there are people from Ukraine, there are people from Venezuela that I'm in a classroom with. And so we have like a little mini United Nations learning German. And I just remember being pleasantly surprised. I mean, at first I was getting these kind of curious questions like, what's the name of your Frau? Like,
Uh-huh.
was ist die Name von deiner Frau?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, but I was pleasantly surprised that they told me. They were like, okay, whatever, child. You got a man. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I find it too that coming out doesn't end. You have to, answer questions. You keep having to answer questions because every time when you get into a personal relationship with someone, a friend, a colleague, then at some point they ask, and do you have kids? Do you have a wife? And then then you have to come out again.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So, and I think the marriage actually helped me with that because, you're not my boyfriend, you're my husband,
Yes.
and that's something like it's a more serious category.
It is.
And so I can't lie about you, or I can't just not talk about it. So it actually became easier for me to answer the questions because yes, I am married
Yes.
and I have a husband.
Yes.
Period. And that makes coming out actually more simple because I don't have to tell the entire story. I just, this is enough. I'm married and I have a husband.
Yeah.
That's it. And that you can check out coming out.
Right.
But to wrap it up a little bit, as an artist, I'm still struggling with this issue because for a long time I thought that as an artist, not just as an actor, but also as a writer or director, I am trying to express the majority. Like I'm trying, not the majority is not a good word. I'm trying to express the universal humanity. I'm trying to express thoughts and feelings about humanity that are universal. But now I'm realizing that I should not confuse that idea with, okay, I have to belong to the majority to have universal thoughts and feelings about humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm gay, I'm still a human being,
Right.
and I can have universal feelings and thoughts. So that was just a false idea in my head, and I actually think now as an artist that in order to become universal, I have to actually tell about my personal and individual and unique experiences. I cannot be universal if I'm ignoring my unique and personal story. That's part of me. So yes, homosexuality is becoming my identity.
And there's freedom in that. I feel
And there's freedom in that.
There's freedom in that, because I think for a long time I have struggled with being taken seriously as, and I think that is real. That is the core of some of my my identity issues. Is, do I want to be perceived as a gay man? Do I want to be perceived as am I okay with the fullness of who I am as a queer person? And I think through community, through going to Pride festivals, it's something that I have found refuge in. And I'm also realizing, like, through travel, through being in other places, I'm able to realize, like, I am not the only creative man in the world. I'm not the only creative gay man in the world. So there's other people who can identify with me, and it's okay for me to simply be myself.
It just made me think about cliches, because there are also like a lot of cliches about being gay. And maybe if you say I'm gay, then you also worry that people think about these cliches and think that, oh, then you're gay, then you're being feminine, you wear weird clothes, or like and some people do that, some people don't. So just because you're gay, that doesn't mean that you have to fulfill all these cliche expectations. And that's totally fine. It's totally fine if you wear more female clothes, or if you are feminine, but it's totally fine if you are not, or if you don't.
Right.
That's fine too. And I think if more and more people come out honestly as being gays, then it would also help, or it could also help with these cliches. Like we would have, less and less of those.
Right.
Or we would feel less and less restricted by those cliches. And the last idea, and then we're gonna end this a little bit longer episode. I think the reason why we have to talk about this, even though it's not easy, and because personally I would really love to make younger generation suffer less than I had to suffer. And so
Me too, because even as a millennial, I think there's obviously you growing up in the 80s, 90s, that was rough.
yeah,
That was very rough.
but it could it
it
could
was
be rough
also
even
rough for the
today.
millennials, and today as well. Yes.
I mean, there are still countries in the world where it's illegal
yeah.
and totally unacceptable, and even there are countries that make steps forward and then they make 2 steps back.
Right.
So there is still a need for political fight. There's still a need for communication, and I just think that if there is a way I can contribute that homosexuality becomes more and more accepted and less of a stigma,
Right.
and people people don't have to suffer as much when they discover that they are gay, then I have to do that. I have to do that because, well, who should be doing this if not us?
Right.
You know, who should be doing this if not us? So that's why we do this, and that's why we think that it's important. And the last thing, like, what would you tell people, young people who haven't come out yet and they are scared of coming out? What would you tell these people now?
Whew, honey, you just have to tell the truth to yourself first. Tell the truth to yourself first. And tell the truth to yourself first. If you're queer, do your homework, go outside, go to the pride festivals. Because I think a lot of us, including me, which is something that I've struggled with, thinks that, oh, I am only one person, and that we isolate ourselves because we think, we're the only person in the world. I think travel is an incredible thing. And even if you don't have the money to travel, reading books, literature, music, film, all of these great resources, they're there for you to expand your consciousness about the different varieties of life. Watch Paris is Burning. Watch Looking for Langston from the 20th century. Watch all this great cinema, because you're not alone. And as somebody who has struggled intensely with these topics of coming out and acceptance and identity and shame, and who, you're not alone. Like Michael Jackson said, you are not alone. I'm still here with you.
Thank you, honey. I think that's a good closure. Thank you very much for your attention. You can comment, you can subscribe. See you next time.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.